Welcome to Kopitam Council. Yes, of course, this is Haffiz and Adi, as always, and this is another new episode for this week. As you can see, it was very encouraging, Adi, our PKR episode last week. What do you take of that?
Oh, I think I have to retract a few things I said there. I mean, I did predict Nurul Izzah would win, right? But I remember that I came with the connotation that as a positive thing. But right after that, she says that PKR wants to contest in 13 seats in Sabah, which I thought to myself, hey, come on now. What kind of presence does PKR have here to warrant such confidence? Or, are you going to challenge a lot of Warisan seats at all? So that's going to be a retraction for me. I'm sorry. Nurul Izzah, I supported you to become deputy. Nepotism aside, people want to say whatever. I think you're capable, regardless, whatever. But please, don't jeopardize the relationship and alliance that you have here with GRS. Reconsider. And congratulations.
If there were ever a time for PKR to be ambitious, this is the time. They're in the federal state government. So I think, whatever, all the best for them. Hopefully they can get what they want with the new missionary, I guess, new people that they have lined up. Most of them she is new. I think vice presidents are half new, notably Ramanan, and also new top 20, the high councils. Okay, that's a previous episode, but what are we going to talk about today, Adi?
Okay, well, let's talk about international again, because, we've covered ongoing atrocities that's happening across the world. We've covered the war in Ukraine, we've covered the genocide in Gaza, but there's a new situation arising from Africa, spurred on by American President Donald Trump, labeling South Africa as committing genocide against its Afrikaner population, its Boer population, the white population in South Africa. This sparked a lot of controversy because now there is this whole narrative being told that all these white South Africans are being seen as refugees running away to America to have a better life as economic migrants. And well, that has ruffled some feathers as well, because it seems that the process has made it easier for them to enter America as refugees compared to people, let's say, people of color, and there is a discriminatory practice right there. So, what we make of that is depending on where you fall on the political spectrum. Regardless, the whole claim that there is a white genocide happening in South Africa, I think is very much exaggerated. But I think I'll let you have the word, Hafiz, before I want to continue.
First of all, the word exaggerated, I think, is a very mild word. I think I would rather use the word non-existence, because that's the worst being used by interviewee when it was interviewed by journalists Al Jazeera, France 24, and so on. So these are the people that use the word non-existence. But I want to regress a bit. Adi, just a few facts here about South African whites here. They only make up around 7 or 8% of the population. So maybe you can see what few millions there, maybe 5 millions or more or less, that round figure. But interestingly, they possess around 70 to 80% of South Africa lands. So of course, this is related to the legacy of apartheid. Yes, apartheid. The version of Nelson Mandela is no longer there, but the legacy of it is still there in this kind of form, in the form of ownership of land in South Africa. Yes, there is that issue, Adi, where it was a huge debate in South Africa about how they're gonna redistribute this land. But of course, there was no doubt, no debate that no genocide happened there. I mean, the Western media was so reluctant to call what happened in Gaza a genocide, but easily throwing that word to describe what's happening in South Africa. Even Donald Trump was ambushing Cyril Ramaphosa in Oval Office, saying that, look at these photos, look at these videos showing. In fact, that videos later on has been fact-checked, happened in Congo. So there you go, just snippets, highlights about what happened from Oval Office.
Okay, maybe I'm going to try to center the conversation, because you said that non-existent, almost non-existent. I think I can kind of see where Donald Trump seems to have drawn this assumption that there is some kind of white genocide. I don't saying there's. I don't think there's white genocide. Regardless, I think there are elements in South Africa here we have to acknowledge that it is quite anti-white. That is driven by an anti-colonial narrative to decolonize, and sometimes that has led to a more extreme form, which does target white descendants of white colonists, the Boer population, saying that they are leftovers from a era that has exploited and has brutalized the indigenous and local population in South Africa, so they must be accountable for that. And this is driven largely by more extremist fringe groups like the Economic Freedom Fighters, which do have a position at the legislative in South Africa. And its leader, Julius Malema, who has on record gone on to say that we will not shoot the Boers, not yet, right? And saying all kinds of songs that was popular during the trying to dismantle apartheid, which is promoting violence, right? And then you have issues and instances of necklacing against black on black violence, African on African violence, necklacing. I don't want to get into the gory details about that, but those were used as punishments against people who seem to be, locals who are sympathetic to apartheid itself, right? So we cannot deny that there is an element of violence here that is being perpetrated, that is being rhetoric, and does target the white population in South Africa. I can understand the motivations behind it because it is a way to they want to reclaim ownership over the land that they have lost hundreds of years ago due to colonization, right? But then now we bring that conversation, which you brought up, which is land, right? Because this is the ultimate issue that is trying to be resolved here that Cyril Ramaphosa was trying to counter with Donald Trump. Donald Trump was trying to fight back. It's the idea of land ownership here, right? At the end of the day, this is the premium resource and that motivates a lot of the South African politics here, which you said most of it is owned by white African farmers who are descendants from the colonialists. Now, I want to bring up a policy that was brought by the ANC government, which Ramaphosa is in charge of, which is in charge of South Africa, which is they were always trying to go for a land reform, which allows more indigenous South Africans to have ownership or private ownership over their farms, right, over ownership of land, to sort of redistribute ownership between the whites and the black population, right? This was always a goal, but it never took on an element where, or a stance that would be the state intervening or even expropriating and taking directly the land, right? But that is what the EFF wants, is that they want the land to be just taken straight away by the state and redistributed, right? So that is a contentious argument right now that's happening. And for a lot of, maybe if you're sympathetic towards the EFF, they think that this is justice being carried out. But for a lot of the Boer population that has been there for generations, right? And it's their livelihood, they might feel that the way of life is being threatened here.
I mean, Adi, sure, in any political spectrum, in any country, you would have a tiny minority of extremists, right? If you want to draw that parallel with Malaysia, we could say, the non-Muslims in Malaysia should be all killed because some extremist party, I don't want to name that party here, would use that kind of slogan in their campaign during the election. They're like, no, hatred towards non-Muslim should not be in power. We should, kill them or whatever to that extent. Of course, this happened in Malaysia. Of course, in South Africa as well, because in South Africa, the murder rate is also, if you're generally looking at murder rate, it's quite high compared to other countries in Africa as well. So, but most of it, like more than 90%, it happens in hotspots, in urban hotspots. So it means these are normal crime that you have in your local downtown town, whatever. If you're in KL, downtown KL, or you're in Cape Town or Joburg or Pretoria. So these are the normal kind of thing. So what happened in farms is just less than 5%, and even less than 10% out of that 5% are white as a victim. So yes, I understand where you're coming from. EFF would use such rhetoric, such language to win some political brownie points, but I don't think that's a justification to even broad up such word, or even internationally, saying that there's a genocide happening in South Africa. So I think at least we can agree on that. And I think what should be a highlight here is that how quick America responds to this, that providing a private jet to 59 so-called refugee wearing very, very comfortable, looking very comfortable. That's what I say, looking very comfortable. They even were welcomed by the state secretary to welcome to America, land of the freedom, whatever. You don't get this from a real genocide refugee. I mean, from Syria, from Palestine. Is it because they're not white? Is it because they are not? Is it because they're Muslims? So these are the double standards that need to be shown, that are highlighted by the Trump administrations, and also why they think so quickly on this. I have a feeling that this has something to do with Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is what we now the issue with PayPal mafia here, right? With Peter Thiel, so that it goes back in the 90s, that how they were brought up in Joburg and Pretoria. So this goes back to the families that maybe they want something to do with it. So maybe they're transferring wealth, or I don't know. I'm just speculating here, but the way, the speed, how they react to it, and just, can you imagine, Eddie, if there's a genocide and only 59 people is in the plane, shows that that's not really a bad genocide. It's just a school trip to America, isn't it? Like, if there's a real genocide, the plane will be full of those want to escape the area. But logically speaking, it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. There definitely is no genocide. The only thing you can definitely say is that, like you said, extreme groups here advocating for extreme rhetoric, and you see just more pushes for the state institution to institutionalize redistribution of land. Now that's obviously a great initiative, right? You redistribute land so that it's more equal, so that it is more equal in terms of demographic, right? So that that black farmers are able to cultivate their own land, they can thrive as well, and participate in one of South Africa's biggest cash crop, which is agriculture, right? That is one of the most fertile regions, exports a lot of crops, right? Very, very productive region. And you want to participate in that industry, right? And I mean, yes, I did mention the EFF and Julius Mlembe, right? But he also did mention that this can work out if everyone is working together. It can be shared, and we can see throughout the last 10 years there was concerted efforts to introduce more black farmers by partnering them with established white commercial farmers to transition them from subsistence farmers to commercial farmers. And that so far, I think, has increased some of the land ownership share. But now what we are seeing in Africa is that there's going to be a land expropriation without compensation policy. And this required, I think, I believe, amendment to the constitution, which would give the state of South Africa more control over appropriating land from anyone they feel it should be appropriated from. And I don't think that is the way to go. I'm not saying it's because I'm saying defending white farmers, whatever. It's because we've seen this before. We've seen this in Zimbabwe. We've seen that when you have these, when you try to push land reform really quickly, you risk running your economy into the ground. So Zimbabwe, at one point, they did have a slow track progress way of doing it, like how we saw South Africa has been doing so far. Then I believe in the 2000s, they had a fast track reform program. And that was driven a lot by decolonial narratives, and Mugabe kind of fell into that. And because of that, you would have white flight and all that. You ran away all the. We have to say the productive farmers were the ones that was established for a very long time, and then you bring in farmers that has no experience, no capacity to do it, and because of that, it wasn't sustainable. And this is where that balance needs to be struck here. If South Africa wants to ensure these race relations are actually properly handled, but at the same time you maintain that economic standing, is that you need to have that reform that is still equitable to everyone, that's everyone able to participate in, and everyone is able to learn from it. So what they've been doing, I believe, seems to be on the right track, is that they're trying to ensure that the black farmers, the upcoming farmers, are partnered with the white farmers and being able to cultivate those skills, to develop that capacity to be able to manage the intricacies that is required of commercial farming. So we have an example of what to learn from, which is Zimbabwe, and South Africa cannot risk falling into populist rhetoric and fall into that same situation.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely going to help very much the current administration to navigate these issues, because this is only going to be a win-win situation for the whites and for the blacks as well. So when we have that program partner up with the white and black farm owners, that would be certainly would because this is land issue is the most pressing issue in South Africa right now, and that would leave some the steam off here. So any other progress or development can take place. Other than that, it's gonna be it's mind-boggling how can for a foreign leader from United States just come in and ambush a president of South Africa. It's just insane. So if you watch the 20 minutes of the interview, whatever, he looked like he wanted to jump to Trump, but he know his place. He don't want to feed to Trump's ego or whatever. So he just like, yeah, accept it, whatever, just play to it, like yes, but no, this is not. And I think that's a very he handled it very well in front of Trump in the Oval Office, and it shows that he is somewhat has the pedigree of a leader that could bring more prosperity in South Africa.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I feel like America jumped the gun here in trying to make too many assumptions that there's a white genocide happening here. Yeah, I mean, things are committed, violent crime is committed, right? Nonetheless, and there are extremists, but it's not. I'm saying it doesn't constitute a genocide. Once you are killing, systematically hunting people down, once you are ethnically cleansing them, or they're ethnically cleansing them, you're forcibly displacing them through the power of the state, then this is a genocide, right? You really want to compare what's happening in Gaza, in Xinjiang, with the Uyghurs, to what is happening in South Africa? No, I don't think that's the case. And I believe that this shows the lack of nuance, or rather just trying to fan the flames from America's side, trying to just fan the flames and say that, look, this is something happening here that's crazy, and we need to be fighting for these disenfranchised, economically prosperous people somehow. No, it betrays a lack of nuance here, and it does show that this administration, in Washington, it seems to be very concerned more with jumping the gun, being very cowboy style about it, rather than actually looking into the finer intricacies of what exactly is happening in South Africa. Because it is a very complex situation. There's a whole colonial history about it. There's a decolonial process about it, and then now you have different perspectives all competing with one another. You have a moderate side, you have a more open side, you have a more radical side, right? That in the end compete with and interact with one another, and one does not represent the entirety. Like, just because Julius Malembe says something at a church for or to give a talk, right, that does not give the right for Elon Musk to say, oh, that's applicable, that's still going to be the policy of the ANC for the next election. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's like saying Abdul Hadi is the voice of reason.
No, yeah, exactly. It's like taking what Paz says, a random rally, and then somehow America says, "Oh, look, this is what they are doing to non-Muslims." Right?
This is Malaysia. Yeah,
it's Malaysia.
The whole Malaysia is like this.
Yeah. This is just exaggerating, extrapolating a narrative that it requires a lot of patience to understand, and that should be the case. And you can say you want to be. You can talk if Elon Musk really wants to. Like, he is from South Africa. I mean, he's from that region. He should know better, right? He thrived there himself. So if you really want, it really matters, right? Then you will want to see how you can assist the economy of South Africa in a way that can ensure that black farmers are able to transition to commercial farmers faster. You accelerate that progress, and that just means a larger market, development. It empowers the economy, empowers a very important trade route, and it does reap dividends for America. These are the things that maybe you should, instead of blasting the gun and say white genocide. No. How can we ensure that everyone in South Africa, is able to benefit through assistance that that America can provide, right? Not directly intervening, but what kind of assistance is needed to empower that part of the region that a lot of the world does rely upon.
But just probably my last point about this South Africa issues, Adi, let's not forget that South Africa is a member of BRICS, a member of the BRICS, and maybe perhaps this is a warning to South Africa and Brazil, because Brazil is going to be the host for this year, 2025, and it's just a signal to Lulu, like, hey, I can do this to your country. I can, bring reputations of your country down in just one single press conference. So think about it. Think about your commitment in BRICS if you really want to be with Russia and the others. So, come back into the orbit of America, trade with us. We'll give you special tariff rates, and then leave BRICS immediately. Something like that, Effect. So because I think it has something to do with geopolitics as well. It's not going to be just randomly. And why now? Why the timing is now? Is it about tariff again? Is it his opening to, hey, you want to talk about tariff now? Now that clearly a genocide in your country, let's talk about tariff, so they can whitewash your crime in the international scene, something like that.
In a way, maybe they can paint the whole idea like, oh, it's like apartheid, but the roles are reversed, so let's embargo.
Yeah.
That's the most extreme scenario, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
but with Trump, that's what you're gonna get, and you never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Well, another saga in the ongoing, international politics sphere led by main actor Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. But you mentioned BRICS. Upcoming, we were going to be talking about a similar organization, multilateral organization, in the upcoming episode. If you are interested to find out what that's going to be, stay tuned for the next episode.